Welcome, Children of the Night, back to the Infernal Archive. On this episode, the last episode of this season, volume edition, we are watching the 2001 film Pulse from Japan. And as always, I'm going to read the little Wikipedia blurb for you. Pulse is a 2001 Japanese techno-horror film directed by Kiyoshi Kurosawa. The film was screened in the Uncertain Regard section at the 2001 Cannes Film Festival. The movie was well received critically and has a cult following. An English-language remake, also titled Pulse, debuted in 2006 and spawned 2 sequels. The script was also adapted into a novel of the same name by Kurosawa himself. Now, I'm fairly certain I saw the remake when it came out. I remember the marketing materials and stuff, and I think I have visions.
Was it around the same time as The Grudge? It would have been before The Grudge, probably.
Right around the same time. The Grudge was. Yeah. The Grudge might have been 06 as well. It was 05, 06, and The Ring. All those movies.
Yeah, I think they were all kind of sort of similar vibe, similar look.
I might be thinking of White Noise too. That's also a techno-themed horror film. I don't know. A lot of these movies we're using videotapes or we're using VHS.
It's what if 2006 is what if everybody was on their phone all the time?
Oh, mate, well, can you imagine a world where...
Can you imagine a world without lawyers?
Oh.
Anyways, a good friend of ours, good friend of the podcast, Alex Mraz, check out his YouTube channel, Mr. Oz Productions, but he loves this film. It's one of his favorite horror movies. And I've never seen the original. I think I've seen the remake. I'm not sure, but I definitely haven't seen the original. So we thought we'd check it out. So come on back. We're going to go watch the movie, and then come on back, and we'll give you our thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Red rum! Red rum! Red rum! Red rum!
Welcome back, Children of the Night. We just finished watching Pulse from 2001, and damn it, I was really hoping for a banger for the last episode.
This is not a banger. This is not a banger. And I know bangers. I know bangers.
But it was kind of... I don't know if I want to say it was shit, but it was
It just wasn't what we were hoping for. I was hoping it was going to be spooky,
Me
scary.
too. It's because what do we know of J-horror? It's we know that there's a bunch of remakes that got made in the early millennium. There was The Ring, and there was The Grudge, and there was whatever the fuck else, which are very jump scare.
The Ring is terrifying.
Yeah, heavy movies.
Yeah.
And so this film seems like that from the marketing. It's called Pulse. It's got that one Pulse, Grudge is one syllable, Ring is one syllable. Yeah, it's got that one syllable title. It's It's J-horror. It's kind of, I think it's in the conversations of J-horror films, it's often brought up in those conversations.
I don't know how this is fucking horror though.
No,
I really
there
honestly
was
don't.
3 scenes that were spooky.
Well, and the sound design, I guess, was very effective.
Yeah, we should get that out of the way. The sound design in this film is dynamite. It is the soundtrack, the way they use sound,
There's moments of the silence punctuating with the whispering ghost. Help. That was fucked up.
It was almost they used the absence of sound as the thing. The creepiest moments happen when the soundtrack cuts out. That's when creepy shit was happening, which was really cool. So yeah, sound design, 10 out of 10. That was great, especially for an 01 movie. And it felt, I don't know if this was an independent film. It felt like it had the budget of an independent film. It definitely didn't feel like they made it with a ton of money, but very impressive, the sound design. But the plot itself, it was so difficult to parse out kind of what was happening and what the rules of the world they set up were for so long.
And both of us kind of mentioned, it feels like, especially transitioning from scene to scene, it was intentional, obviously, but it felt like there were pieces missing out of this story that... pages out of a book kind of thing.
And they would transition. This only happened a handful of times in the movie, but it was a very odd decision where it's let's say a character in a film, I want to grab an apple from a table. And so what you'll see is I might say in the film, you'll have a shot of me and I'll say, oh, I'd like an apple. And then you'll cut to another shot where my hand's reaching out, and then maybe you'll cut to an insert of the apple that I'm grabbing. In this film, they would do a thing where the person would like reach out to grab something or would walk to go do something. Then they would cut to a different scene with a different person, and they would complete an action with a different person. So like a person exiting a room, they would then cut to a person entering a room. And so you would, in your head, think like, oh, I'm still following the same character. But it would be a different character, and you're a different scene, and you're fully, and it's like, and then it takes you whatever 30 seconds to like readjust and be like, oh, this is different. What, like, why did you do that? Why didn't you finish the scene that you were doing? And like, obviously like probably intentional for some reason, but I kind of just found it a little confusing and like disorienting,
distracting as well, because even if you kind of parse it out, kind of start figuring it out sort of, and you have to take that time to kind of reset, and it almost like ruins the flow of what's happening.
Totally. And throughout the film, you're following there's two primary sets of characters. There's a guy and a girl, and then there's this other set of characters where it's two girls and this guy. And the whole time I'm like, are they gonna interact? Like, are they, why is it just, it's just these guys and then these guys and these guys and these guys, and it seems like totally unrelated to each other, and like
it's like going through the same phenomenon, but like experiencing different things. And it's like obviously they're connected kind of, but are they linked directly? Are they gonna actually
and it's like what's happening isn't uninteresting. It was just like I'm just confused as to, well, like I said before, what the rules are, because they established from the get-go that people are like dying. And right off the bat, the first guy who dies is like, he hung himself. And you're like, why did he hang himself? He didn't seem, people didn't say like he was on his way out. Everybody's confused as to why he did it or whatever. And there also seems to be some spectral, supernatural stuff happening around his death. So we're like, okay, so the ghosts, at first we're like, okay, ghosts are making people kill themselves. But then at one stage of the film, a person literally just disappears from reality. Like they just phase out of reality.
She gets sad and then just like,
and then it's like,
turns into a dark spot on the wall.
Yeah, and it's like, and it very like Padme Amidala in episode 3 when it's like she lost the will to live, like that kind of a thing. But at least she was like had just endured a physical trauma in episode 3, so it's like, okay, so she just like she just let go.
And that's a thing that happens, and like if you have if you're ill and you don't have the will to like, your body will just like shut like this is literally like physically fine.
Yeah.
Just like
like Avengers style, like disappears into dust.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so some people kill themselves, some people just disappear. And
then there's also that line the one chick says where she's like, "That's right. If ghosts are real, they wouldn't want to kill people because they wouldn't want to make more ghosts."
Yeah.
So.
And that's the thing, like, so a ghost, so there are ghosts in the film, but the ghosts never kill anybody. They just appear in front of people and then make them depressed and make them like cause such extreme existential, because like as well as I could parse out, this is what's happening. It's like hell has overflowed. There's too many.
Well, the afterlife,
whatever it is, has overflowed. There's too many fucking dead people for whatever the afterlife is. So there's ghosts now appearing in our society. And when a person sees a ghost, they come to this existential realization that all of existence forever is just isolation. You're alone forever. And this causes such discomfort with some people that it just causes them to be like, well, I guess there's no difference between life and death, and there's no, and then they just die. They'll either kill themselves
or they'll just phase out of existence.
I don't even want to be around anymore.
What?
I don't want to be around anymore.
Like you don't want to live anymore?
I don't know.
And we didn't really parse that out until near the end of the film. In the last like third of the film, we started going like, oh, okay, I think I know what's going on here. Because then they show this like TV reel where tons of people have disappeared. Like I can't remember if they're in Tokyo or what Japanese city they're in. I never saw like a Tokyo landmark.
I think
but
Tokyo, yeah.
Probably Tokyo. Most movies made in Japan are set in Tokyo. And at one point you see the city and it's like there's smoke coming out of buildings and everything's on fire, and like, so you parse out that it's like, okay, so this ghost thing is so bad, it's like a pandemic. Like tons of people are disappearing, planes are crashing, like this is the end of the world for all intents and purposes. But it's like, it's so near the end that you're like, this felt like a really contained ghost story for so long.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying to solve this mystery of what's happening to their friends.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, this is just a pandemic.
Yeah, like
and
everyone's
dying.
And it was like, okay. So that the movie really swings for the fences at the end. And it's like I said, it's not uninteresting. It's like, okay, cool idea. Maybe you could have like brought this idea forward way earlier in the film, so that by the end we're like, oh, okay, it's the whole world. It's not just this group of people. And then once again, the film at the beginning is like, oh, this is related to the internet somehow, or it's related to digital screens. But that doesn't seem to be the case at all, because like, some stuff is related to digital screens, but then some stuff is not. And we kind of parsed out that maybe reflections or reflective surfaces, ghosts have an easier time like communicating through them. We were kind of figuring that out, but that also doesn't seem to be totally consistent, because sometimes the ghost would just literally appear right in front of people, so they didn't need a surface to communicate through. So like I said, the rules of this universe they'd established were just...
You just changed the lineup? That's against the rules!
What rules? Who cares?
You guys care about the rules? No. There you go.
They're probably consistent, but I just didn't like. There was just weird stuff. It was confusing.
They just didn't give me enough to grab onto to really connect and engage with the film in a way where I could. It was what's the word I'm looking for? It was too confusing. Not confusing. It just didn't give me enough to engage. I guess that's really all it is.
And not soon enough. It didn't parse things out in a way that made I
just didn't care because of that.
Yeah.
Even if there was subtle hints to pick up on, I wasn't engaged enough to even try.
Because if I wrote down what this movie was about, I would probably be able to write down like a very clear, like, this is what this film is trying to do, and this is the message it's trying to present. And it's so weird for a film that seems to have such a clear message and a plot that is actually like pretty simplistic. It parsed it out in the least simplistic, most confusing way it could have done. And I just like, I feel like there's, if this film was remade, and I'm not saying an American remake, a Japanese remake even, any remake, if somebody remade this film and just made it less convoluted and parsed it out in a way that was a little more digestible, and if the pacing was just a little more engaging, I feel like you could have a banger cool film on your hand. Because Apocalypse via Ghost, I haven't seen that movie before. That's a kind of a novel idea, and I enjoy that. I like novel apocalypses. I love Reign of Fire, Apocalypse by Dragon. Give me fresh apocalypses. I'm all for it. But yeah, just the way this film was parsed out, it just wasn't effective enough. It just didn't
really hit the nail on the head. Didn't hit that note for me.
It's not a waste of time, and I wouldn't say it's like a waste watching it, because it did do some stuff well, but...
It's also, we go into it. I think if you went into it knowing more, that fair. It wasn't, like... I went into it thinking, oh, we're going to be scared.
It's like a Grudge film.
This is like a Grudge film.
Yeah, to be fair, our expectations were... We were expecting something very different than we...
Yeah, so I think that maybe played into the overall thought. Like, definitely not a bad film.
No.
Just not what we were looking for.
No, I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. Like, I don't know.
No.
After we finished the film, I'm like, okay, I got what they were putting down.
Yeah.
I would watch a remake of this movie if it was done.
If
like
the concept was redone, yeah.
Totally, I would watch that. But yeah,
I agree.
So for the first time ever, is that kind of all? We kind of wrapped it up. So for the first time ever, we do not have our wheel. We're not gonna. We don't have a movie on the next episode. We're gonna do one more episode where we're just gonna like kind of wrap up our thoughts. We're gonna rank each of these films. We're gonna do two rankings. One where like scariest to least scariest, and then kind of best film to worst film in our opinions. Then we are going to bring back the wheel, and next season we're gonna do 10 movies instead of 15 movies, and we're gonna choose our theme. Next episode, we got loose themes like hell and slasher and I don't know, random weird, themes. Very loose themes.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna spin our wheel, choose our theme for the next season, and that's what basically the next episode will be, just a wrap up episode. So thank you very much for tuning in for the last episode of the first season of the Infernal Archive, and we will catch you on
the final episode,
the wrap up episode.